Hello, welcome. My name is Amy Berg. I'm going to be doing some training with you guys for hand washing. And you might think hand washing, that's simple. I've been doing that my whole life. But this is hand washing according to NAECY childcare licensing standards. And it's really important to be thorough with hand washing for a couple of reasons. So that you don't get sick. There's a lot of bacteria going around. There's a lot of people in a childcare center. There's runny noses, there's diaper changes. I don't want you to get sick. We don't want the children to get sick. And we need to teach children healthy habits so that they can live long, healthy lives. Teaching them hygiene is very important. And of course, we must adhere to childcare licensing rules. So that's the 4 primary reasons that hand washing is so important. So first of all, I'm just going to show you how to wash your hands according to NAECY licensing rules. So I start with liquid soap, and I have a watch on and my wedding ring, so I'm gonna be extra mindful to clean around those because they can harbor bacteria. So I start with the running water, and I wash between my fingers. I'm just trying to show you here, and my nails, on the backs of my hand, inside of my hand, my wrist, and I move my watch around so I can wash underneath it. Wash for 20 seconds. And I turn off the faucet with my elbow and wash with paper towels or a hand dryer, whatever is available. And it might be smart to use some hand lotion every now and then because you'll be washing your hands a lot. So with children, with infants, it might be okay to just use it can be okay to just use a wet wipe. According to licensing rules, but with older children, like any child that's able, you should teach them and monitor them in hand washing. If there's a toddler and you tell them to wash their hands, they might not know what that means to wash their hands properly. So you can help them. You stand behind them over the sink and you hold their hands and rub them together and soap and water, and you really show them how you wash your hands. You can wash your hands together. So you're rubbing your hands together right next to them and they will copy you. With older kids, it might be enough to just tell them, wash your hands properly, soap and water, count to 20, sing happy birthday or the alphabet song while you're washing. And the kindergartners, they might lie to you and tell you that they wash their hands, but you can tell if their hands are wet or if they're wet between their fingers, then they did wash their hands. Otherwise, they likely didn't. So just keep an eye out. Proper hand washing is very important. Some kids will try to get away with like putting their hands underwater for 1 second and they take a paper towel and throw it directly in the trash. Kids can be ridiculous sometimes. So to try and help you learn about NAECY childcare licensing rules with when we wash our hands, I'm going to walk you through what a normal day might look like. So use your imagination. We work with kids. We should have our imaginations up and running. So I'm going to walk you through what a normal day might look like. So you get to work to the toddler classroom. That's your classroom. And when you get there, 7 a.m., you wash your hands as you enter the room. And as the kids arrive, you wash their hands or remind them, make sure they wash their hands as they enter the room. And you change a diaper, you wash your hands after changing a diaper. Gloves are not a substitute for hand washing, they're in addition to hand washing. And if hand washing is not an option, for instance, if you're outside or if you're on a field trip, then hand sanitizer can be an acceptable substitute if the person is at least 24 months old. So for an adult or for a child that's more than 2 years old. So if you go to the bathroom, of course, you must wash your hands before you return to the classroom. And if you're wiping runny noses, then you got to wash your hands afterwards. It's very smart to wipe the runny noses because you don't want them to have dried snot all over. Yeah, kids tend to have colds and such, so that definitely does happen. If you cough or a child coughs on you, like that does happen. I have been sneezed on in my face by a child more than once, or especially if you sneeze like this, you should always try to sneeze like this. But if you blow your nose, if you have a cold, wash your hands afterwards. If you're dealing with blood, that's a step up, that's more serious. So you always have to wear gloves and wash hands very thoroughly afterwards. Gloves is not a suggestion, is a must when you're dealing with blood. If someone scraped their knee and you need to wipe it clean and all that, gloves and thorough hand washing, and maybe even hand sanitizer after that, just to make sure. And a child throws up in the bathroom, you got to clean that up and wash your hands thoroughly. Like, wear gloves, clean it up, deal with it, send the child home, and wash your hands thoroughly. And then it's finally your lunch break. You go to eat your sandwich that you've been thinking about all morning. You got to wash your hands before you eat, because you've been touching door handles that 100 other people have touched that day, maybe, or maybe not 100, but a lot of people touch a lot of surfaces. Like, you have bacteria on your hands. Please wash your hands before you eat. And before the kids are eating, before they sit down for lunch, they gotta wash their hands. And after lunch, when their hands are full of banana in a way that you didn't even think it was possible, and they have like ketchup on their faces and ketchup up to their elbows, you gotta wash them clean. It's not always that bad, but it can be, depending on what age you work with and what children you're working with. But yeah, you gotta wash those hands after they have eaten. Or if your hands are dirty from you've been eating food, if hands are visibly dirty, always wash them. And if you're going to prepare food, if you're going to help out in the kitchen at all, you wash your hands and then put on gloves before you touch any of the food that everyone else is going to be eating. We don't want to eat food with your germs on it. And especially if you've been touching food like raw chicken, egg, like you have food on your hands, like always wash your hands afterwards. And if there's water play and sensory table, all the kids are having a blast and 4 kids are at the sensory table and you got like soap and water and toys in there, that's more than 2 kids with their hands in the same water. So they've got to wash their hands afterwards, after they've been playing there. And when you go to the playground, it's been raining a bit, so all the kids get really muddy hands. So you got to wash those hands when you can, when you get back inside. You can't just let them walk around with tons of mud on their hands or dirt. And then you're on a field trip and there's a dog walking by and you pet that dog, and then you have like a gross hand because some dogs are a little greasy. But anyway, you had contact with an animal, you need to wash your hands before you return to work. And on the playground, little Joey finds a feather. Woohoo! That's pretty gross. That's contact with an animal or a surface that has been contaminated by an animal. So you better wash those hands, at least like hand sanitizer if that's all you have available. And then if you move from one classroom to another, You wash your hands. If you go from toddlers to infants, you don't want the toddler bacteria to come with you to the infants. So you wash your hands as you enter the room. And Nina asks you to give a bottle to a child. So you wash your hands before you administer or before you feed that child that bottle, and you wash your hands afterwards. And you're trying to burp that baby. And for you, this is a tough day. The baby spits up on you and it's breast milk and it smells and you're trying to clean it off. Go wash your hands after you deal with that. That's a bodily fluid. And then if you're administering medication for any reason, wash your hands before and after. And then little Timmy says, I'm ready. That means he's in the bathroom and he's ready for you to wipe his bum. Lucky you. So after you help him in the bathroom, you gotta wash your hands. And then towards the end of the day, you're so tired of the noise that you're like, I could take out the garbage. I volunteer. I don't mind at all leaving this room for a little bit just to take a breather. So you take out the trash, and afterwards you gotta wash your hands because you've been dealing with trash. And then finally, is it allowed to say that? All the kids go home to their very loving parents, and you clean the room with bleach, and then you have bleach on your hands. So you gotta wash your hands because you have bleach on your hands. You've been cleaning. And at the end of the day, like, that's not necessarily a NAECY requirement, but personally, I always wash my hands at the very end of the day. Just, I'm done. I'm not going to be near a child or a dirty diaper anytime soon, not until tomorrow. So I wash my hands, and it's good to use some lotion because those poor hands have been through a lot. So give them some love. If a child has very dry skin and cracked skin, especially in the winter, you might want to talk to the parents about bringing in some lotion for that child or a different soap so they don't get as damaged skin. If there's a sink, like, sinks should either be used for hand washing or food prep, not both. But if you do use a sink for both, that sink needs to be clean and sanitized before you can use it for food prep again. And fecal matter, poop, should never be in the sink in any way. So if Joey poops his pants, you're not going to stand in the sink and try and clean that off in the same sink where everyone's washing their hands. You put those dirty pants in a plastic bag and maybe label it with a little sticker, and that's for the parents to deal with. You don't have to do their dirty laundry, literally. So I know this sounds like a lot. It's a lot of hand washing, and every day won't necessarily be as crazy as the day I just described, but you can do this. I believe in you. Take care and stay healthy and do your best, and with the rest, we'll figure it out. Okay, have a great day.